last hay season we had an issue with the tractor. Wouldn't start just periodically, and we'd have to tap the starter to get it to work. So right now we're approaching hay season again, and I just want to go ahead and replace the starter on the tractor here. This here is the John Deere 1520. You probably have seen it in our previous videos. We've been baling hay with it with our old Ford baler that we got. Just want to try to get ahead of the hay season a little bit and take some of the aggravation out. So we'll just go ahead and replace that starter this afternoon. Okay, the first thing you want to do is disconnect the negative terminal off the battery. And we'll do that right now. Just don't want no sparks on you, hitting you, or battery blowing up. Okay, so now that's off out of the way. Now we'll come over here and start taking the starter off. So this has the main power wire, accessory wire, and the exciter wire. I'm going to go ahead and take these wires off the old starter. And this one only has 2 bolts on it, so. It helps when you get the correct starter. They said that this was one, but it wasn't, so. And they worked for a couple years and then quit. Just got the 2 bolts in the back and 2 studs, I guess. This one here is kind of a pain to get to, so I have an offset wrench I'm using to get in there and get after it. That's when I mean offset wrench, that's what I mean there. So that one's angled that way. I just got 2 different angles on it. Same size on each end, just 2 different angles. Made for them tight spots like this. The trick is putting the nut back on here after getting it back off. Even back in the 70s, they didn't make anything easy to work on. Okay, I got the nut off the stud back there and it just falls out the bottom here, so that'll be a joy to get started back in there. But there it is. I'll go ahead and take out the bottom one here. And might have to put something else on there. It ain't gonna work. See if I can get a regular wrench on there from underneath. Not really much swing there. I brought a gear wrench out here. I thought I did. Maybe in my imagination I did. Let me get a gear wrench. Well, it's so tight, can't get a gear wrench in there either. I got this swivel socket here, and that's not doing the job either, so for another plan. So since that's so tight inside there and I can't really get to it, I'm just going to take this bolt out of this toolbox tray and just lower it down, try to get something else on there. So the back of the starter was hitting the dipstick tube fitting, so I just want to remove this out of the block. Okay, so I went ahead and loosened this bracket. I took one bolt out of the bottom and loosened the top one, so I can swing this bracket out of the way and try to slide this starter out. And just like that, it comes out. Just make sure when you order parts that you try to get the correct amount of teeth on the gear, and the rotation is correct. This is what this tractor calls for, so that's what we're going to stick in there. And we'll install this right now. So I'm just installing the mounting bolts on the starter. We'll snug it up first before we do any of this other stuff that we loosened up. Yeah, that lock washer was completely crushed, so I just went ahead and grabbed a new one, put in there. So like I said, this top bolt is going to be a bear to get in there, so try my best here to get my hand in there. If I don't, then I'll have to use some pliers. All we need is a couple threads started. We might be there. Let's see what happens here. I'll go ahead and tighten this starter up, and then we'll put all this other stuff back together. Looks like I was able to get it in there. And the birds are approving. And the traffic's flowing. Okay, now we got the starter mounted up tightly. Go ahead and put all these accessories back on. We'll put all the wiring on last. Now we're installing the dipstick tube fitting again. Dipstick tube back in. Go ahead and tighten this tray up. Maybe. Okay, I got the all the brackets all back on and tight. So the the starter exciter wires on the opposite side over here, so I couldn't get a screwdriver in there, so I had to break out the quarter drive set. I'm going to go ahead and loosen this and install that wire. Put the most difficult one on first. Comes with a spade connector, but I'm just going to take that off when using that. Okay, the exciter wire's on. When I mentioned spade connector, I was showing you this little tab. There's a fitting that goes on here that you can use. But in this case, it just had a regular eyelet on there, so I just used an eyelet. Go ahead and hook these power wires up. Accessory wire on, power wire. Tighten up the fittings. Just want to make sure the orientation on these is good, where they're getting a good tight fit on the stud there. And helps out if you have the right size wrench. So I'm just going to improvise. You don't want to over tighten everything because everything's made out of plastic, so you don't want anything loose either on electrical. So that's pretty tight. Okay, last but not least is hooking the battery back up. Go ahead and do that. That negative cable back up. Nice thing about hooking up the negative cable, if you hit any type of metal or anything, it don't spark on you. So you always disconnect the negative first. Feels like it's tight. Okay, we got our starter wrapped up here, and everything's hooked up on the old John Deere 1520. So let's give it a little crank and see what happens. Got the starter on and it's working great, and so it saves that aggravation for when hay season rolls around and we're cranking and clanking with the starter and beating on it with a hammer. So that issue is resolved, hopefully. Now we're just going to go ahead and hook up our spreader, and we're going to spread some natural fertilizer, and that video is here to come soon. But I hope you enjoyed watching the video, putting the starter on. If you guys have any questions, mechanical questions or anything, just feel free to reach out to us and we'll try to help you out. Thanks for watching.